How's it going, everyone? As we've done a couple videos on it, but the PlayStation Store Spring Sale continues to run. Thanks for all your support on the videos we've been uploading. A lot of you guys seem to be enjoying them. They're doing some of the best views we've ever seen out of our deals videos, so we very much appreciate that. Time to go back to the wheelhouse and look at games under the price of $10. Now, I did a video looking at games under $10 in the last cycle of deals. I double-checked, I probably triple-checked, and there is no crossover between the two, because there are some deals that were running for 14 days, and then the new deal cycled in, and then there's some deals that just run for the entire 28 days. So go back and watch that video if you're interested. There's deals like Batman Arkham Collection that's still available for $9 right off the top of my head, and some other pretty decent ones, and then some of them have expired. It's kind of weird how they do it, like, either just have the deals running the whole time or just do two separate 2-week cycles. That's my opinion. Who knows? I don't know why they do the things they do sometimes, but yeah, without further ado, let's get into this video. And starting things off, Catherine Full Body Edition, 75% off for $9.99. It's one of the best deals in this entire sale, and I believe a new low price for the game. Now, when Catherine Full Body Edition initially got announced and we got a price point on it, I believe it was like 50 bucks, and I was like, that's a little bit high. At $9.99, it's excellent. This is a game that I originally played when it came out, and I had a great time with it. Yes, it's a little bit over the top and zany, might not be for everyone with all the quirky elements, but I thought the story was pretty enjoyable. It's comedic at times, and it's got a lot of different pathways, so there's some replayability as well. The puzzle gameplay is what it is. If you don't like it, you can play it in like the super easy mode, and it'll be a breeze to get through. If you want a story-driven title, $9.99 for Catherine Full Body Edition I think is pretty good. Obviously, probably shouldn't be the first Japanese title you ever check out, but nonetheless, $9.99 for this is quite good. Next up, we have Ninja Theory's DMC Devil May Cry Definitive Edition. 75% off for $9.99 as well. This is a game that I'm quite vocal about being a little bit underrated. I know initially when it came out, there was a lot of blowback on the redesign to Dante, and there were some other issues with the game, don't get me wrong, but if you just go into it, you know, expecting a new action title, if you just want a quality action title, I should say, you're gonna find a pretty good one. I mean, Ninja Theory puts out bangers, so DMC Devil May Cry is definitely one of those titles that I ended up enjoying. Was the story blow away? No. But I thought the soundtrack was pretty decent, I thought the gameplay was solid, and for $9.99, I do think this is a good pickup. Alright, next up, got some Tales of titles to recommend. Tales of Berseria is down to $8 for Plus subscribers, $9.99 for non-Plus subscribers, and then Vesperia is $9.99 as well. You guys probably know me if you watch our videos regularly. Vesperia is one of those games that I often go back to recommend. I talk about it being one of my favorite JRPGs, honestly, of all time. There's a little bit of nostalgia definitely tied to it, given that, you know, when Vesperia came out back in August of 2008, I was a wee young lad back then. Kind of wild to think it's been 14 years since the game initially came out, but I still love the cast of characters in the game. I think the gameplay is decent, definitely shows its age a little bit, but a solid Tales of Fair, and you've got a lot of content in the game as well. Berseria, from a narrative standpoint, I think is pretty strong. I think the main character is one of the more compelling main characters out of a JRPG. I mean, both games, Vesperia and Berseria, both have incredibly compelling main characters, but definitely on, like, the opposite sides of the spectrum. Berseria's main character in Velvet, more of a darker main character, with an interesting past, and then, in Vesperia, you have this main character that's a little bit more aloof, a little more lackadaisical. I loved Yuri as a main character, though, so either way you go, both are quality games, both are titles I'd suggest you check out, but maybe check out Vesperia first, or check out Berseria, depending on, you know, what kind of story you really want. If you're looking for a grittier story, Berseria is probably the one to check out, but Vesperia, again, I love the game as well. Next up, we have Okami HD, 50% off for $9.99, another game that I often go back to and talk incredibly highly about. Maybe that's just trying to fulfill my personal agenda of forcing Capcom to do an Okami 2 one day. I know we got Okami done on the Nintendo DS, but a true full-fledged sequel to Okami would be fantastic. Now, Okami's a game that came out on the PS2 era, and a lot of people would rank it, you know, among the top 3 to 4 PS2 games of all time. It's just a tremendous game, often seeing some comparison to, like, The Legend of Zelda from a gameplay standpoint. Visually, this game holds up really well. It just employed a great art style back when it came out in, like, 06. That's held up really well, and the gameplay is solid as well, and soundtrack is great. The presentation in this game is just tremendous, and at $9.99, it's a game that so many people probably missed out on. You know, it did come out in the PS2 era, which again, probably came out 05, 06, 16, 17 years removed from that. You know, a lot of you guys may have been like 6, 7 years old back then. Now you're full-grown adults, so, and you probably never checked out Okami back then. So give it a look. I think you'll really enjoy it, and again, it's widely received as one of the best PS2 games of all time, so check it out. Next up, we have Dishonored Definitive Edition, which is 50% off for $9.99. This has been cheaper back in November of last year, I want to say, during like that holiday sale. It was down to $6, which $6 is definitely the right price to pay for this. If you don't have any intention of playing Dishonored right away, I would say hold off a little bit longer, wait to see if you can snag it at around that $5 to $6 price range. But I love me some Dishonored. I think Arcane did a tremendous job with Dishonored 1 and 2. I think they were both fantastic games. Fantastic art style in the game as well. Another one of those games that I think is going to age really well. A lot of different options in how you tackle the game. You can go a little bit more of the stealth route. You can go a little bit more of the action-heavy route. Probably would recommend taking the stealth approach to the game, but either way, very enjoyable game, $9.99. Good price, not a great price. Maybe wait for it to get a little bit cheaper, but if you've been eyeing it for a while, you know, we're at a little bit of a dead period for new game releases. So this is one that you can jump into, play, get a solid 12-hour experience out of it, and then move on to the next one. Next up, Until Dawn, 50% off for $9.99. Another game that often I do talk about here and there, and it's one of those games that obviously is a super narrative-driven game. It's a cheesy horror movie at its roots, like that's what usually a lot of people say about it, but this is the kind of game, yes, it's a single-player title, but you could invite some friends over and all gather around the couch and have a good time and go through the game together, even though only one person is playing. Although, credit to Supermassive going forward with their next game, The Quarry. I believe that does have multiplayer integrated into it, so it'll be interesting to see if that does add a layer to the game, so that'll be cool. Until Dawn, though, for $9.99, I think is a great game. I'm into these, you know, choice-driven, narrative-driven titles, and it's right up my alley. Game is also available through PlayStation now, so you can play it that way. Next up, Ni no Kuni, Wrath of the White Witch Remastered, 80% off for $9.99. Tremendous deal here for Ni no Kuni. A game that a lot of people would probably consider it to be, honestly, maybe the best JRPG of the PlayStation 3 era. But Tales of Vesperia is right up there, and there's a couple other really good ones. But Ni no Kuni, for a lot of people, was in a very high class, and you can definitely see why. Art style was tremendous. That Studio Ghibli style is just going to be right up the alley of a lot of people, and it's an art style that, again, ages very well. Soundtrack solid, good story, good cast of characters, solid gameplay, just a very well-rounded JRPG that I also often say that if you're not a big fan of JRPGs and you want one that can act as a bit of a gateway into the genre, you know, Ni no Kuni is a pretty good one. I wouldn't be recommending like Trails of Cold Steel as a gateway JRPG, but Ni no Kuni I think is a pretty solid one and I would recommend it. Next up, we got Assassin's Creed Rogue Remastered at 67% off at $9.89. Love me some AC Rogue just because, you know, reminiscent of AC4, which is my favorite Assassin's Creed game of all time, but Rogue, you know, initially came out on the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, kind of went under the radar back in 2014 when it came out alongside Unity, but, you know, many would agree that Rogue was the better game. Very good main character. Naval combat I thought was solid, and I thought overall the story was pretty good as well, and retains a lot of the fundamental Assassin's Creed gameplay that people love from back in the day. You know, these are the Assassin's Creed titles that are more up my alley over the Origins, Odyssey, and Ragnaroks of the world, but nonetheless, $9.89 for this is pretty good. Next up, Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen, 70% off for $9. Yeah, it's Dragon's Dogma. It's a very well-received game from Capcom that a lot of people want a sequel to, and honestly speaking, I think sooner rather than later, you guys are gonna eventually hear something about a sequel. That's just speculation on my part, but I think it is gonna happen eventually. Dragon's Dogma itself is a challenging action RPG. There's quite a bit of content in the game, and with this Dark Arisen version, you also get the expansion to the game. The only downside to this game is the fact that it doesn't have the original theme song from the original Dragon's Dogma on PS3 and 360. And that is a very minor complaint. It's just a great song, but nonetheless, $9 for Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen is great. Next up, we have Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory, which is down to $9. $9 for Digimon Story Cyber Sleuth Hacker's Memory I think is a pretty solid deal. It's a pretty good turn-based JRPG that does retain like a lot of the aspects of the original game if you played that, but I'm a sucker for Digimon. You guys know how excited I am for Digimon Survive, but this is a turn-based JRPG, and a mechanically well-made one. Even if you're not big on Digimon, if you don't have that nostalgia, I still think you can go into this game and have a great time with it, because the story's solid, the gameplay's pretty good. You know, I wouldn't say the characters are anything to write home about, but $9 for it, I think, is overall pretty good. And lastly, I do want to give a shout to Resident Evil 4. That's down to $8. You know, RE4 is a game that I don't know if I would be super gung-ho on picking up, just because I do expect Capcom to eventually do a remake of this game, and given their track record with remakes, I mean, if they deliver an RE2 on us level remake, I think RE4 remake is going to be pretty great. Nonetheless, if you want to go back and play it, RE4 is still a great game. Yeah, does it show its age a little bit? But to me, it's still just a tremendous survival action horror title. This was the Resident Evil game that really got me into Resident Evil, and I know that's the case for many other people. No, for many other people, you know, they didn't like the more action heavy approach of Resident Evil 4 that ultimately did kind of bleed into RE5 and RE6, even more so. But I think for $8, Resident Evil 4 is a pretty good pickup. This is the cheapest it's been. Kind of surprised it doesn't hit that $5 threshold. It does on PC, not on this PlayStation 4 release. But that's going to do it for me. Again, a ton of games under the price of $10. A lot of great ones. Links to all of them will be in the description box below. Thanks so much, you guys, for the consistent support on all of the latest deals videos. This one was just a little bit convoluted because, like, again, I had to double check to make sure these were all new deals, because I don't know what you're doing, Sony. Why not just cycle them in 2 weeks, or just have all the deals available for the entire 4-week duration? Maybe there's a method to their madness, I don't know. But yeah, that's gonna do it for me. Sound off with all of your thoughts in the comment section down below. Thank you for watching, and goodbye. Hey guys, we hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you're already subscribed, do us a favor and hit the bell icon. This way you'll be notified whenever we post a new video. That's the best way to keep up with all of our uploads, and we usually try to upload 2 videos a day. And with the bell icon hit, you'll be notified whenever we do upload a video. As always, thanks for watching.